The gunshot echoed across the prairie as Olivia Jensen's wagon careened wildly down the steep embankment, her screams lost in the rumble of splintering wood and terrified horses. It was 1879 in the Oklahoma Territory, and what had begun as a journey of hope toward a new life was rapidly descending into disaster as the wagon hit a rock and flipped, pinning her beneath its wooden frame in a cruel twist of fate. The dust hadn't even settled when a shadow fell across Olivia's face. She looked up through pain-hazed eyes to see a tall figure silhouetted against the merciless summer sun. With strength that seemed impossible for one man, he gripped the overturned wagon and lifted it just enough for her to scramble free. "I've got you," the stranger said, his voice deep and steady as he pulled her to safety. Olivia gasped for breath, clutching her bruised ribs as she stared at her rescuer. Tall and broad-shouldered, with sun-bronzed skin and eyes the color of weathered denim, he knelt beside her with a look of genuine concern. "Thank you," she managed, wincing as she tried to stand. "I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't come along. Name's Adam Zimmerman," he said, steadying her with a gentle hand. "And from the looks of things, madam, you're lucky to be alive." Olivia brushed the dust from her torn dress, painfully aware of how disheveled she must look. Her chestnut hair had come loose from its pins, falling in wild waves around her face. "Olivia Jensen," she replied, trying to maintain some semblance of dignity. "I was heading to Kingfisher to take up a teaching position." Adam glanced at the wreckage of her wagon, then at the two horses that had miraculously remained hitched, though they stamped nervously nearby. "Well, Miss Jensen, your wagon's seen better days, but your belongings might be salvageable." Her eyes widened as the reality of her situation set in. "Everything I own is in that wagon." Adam nodded thoughtfully, pushing his worn leather hat back on his head. "Let me help you gather what we can. My ranch isn't far from here. You can rest there while we figure out your next move." Olivia hesitated. A proper lady didn't accept invitations from strange men, especially not cowboys with guns strapped to their hips. But as the pain in her ankle flared and the vast, empty prairie stretched around them, she realized she had little choice. "I appreciate your kindness, Mr. Zimmerman," she said formally, "though I wouldn't want to impose." A hint of a smile touched his lips. "Madam, out here, neighbors help neighbors, even the ones we haven't formally met yet." He whistled, and a magnificent chestnut stallion trotted over obediently. "Now, let's see what we can salvage before the weather turns." Together they sorted through the wreckage, Adam carefully lifting broken planks to retrieve her scattered possessions. Most of her clothes had survived, though her prized books had not fared as well. When they came across a small wooden box, Olivia reached for it frantically. "My mother's locket," she explained, relief flooding her face as she opened the box to find the silver necklace intact. "It's all I have left of her." Adam watched her tuck the box safely into her pocket. "Lost my ma young too," he said quietly, then turned away to continue working. By sunset, they had salvaged what they could. Adam fashioned a makeshift travois to carry her belongings behind his horse. When it came time to depart, he lifted Olivia onto his stallion with surprising gentleness, his strong hands respectful but firm. "My ranch is about an hour's ride from here," he explained, mounting behind her. "I'll send one of my hands back for your horses once we arrive." The closeness of sharing a saddle with this stranger made Olivia tense, but as they rode through the gathering dusk, the steady rhythm of the horse's gait and Adam's solid presence began to ease her fears. He smelled of leather, horses, and the wild prairie wind, nothing like the cologne-scented gentleman she'd known back east. "What brings a lady like you all the way out to Kingfisher?" Adam asked, breaking the silence. Olivia straightened her shoulders. "I answered an advertisement for a schoolteacher. The town council said they're building a proper schoolhouse and I needed a fresh start." "Running from something?" His question was direct but not unkind. She stiffened. "I prefer to think of it as running toward something, Mr. Zimmerman." He chuckled, the sound rumbling through his chest against her back. "Fair enough, Miss Jensen. We've all got our reasons for ending up in these parts." As they crested a hill, Olivia gasped. Below them stretched a modest but well-maintained ranch, a sturdy main house with a broad porch, several outbuildings, and a corral where horses moved like shadows in the twilight. "Welcome to the Lazy Z," Adam said, a note of pride in his voice. "It's not much compared to what you might be used to back east, but it's home." As they approached, a gray-haired woman emerged from the main house, wiping her hands on her apron. "Adam Zimmerman, you're late for supper again, and who's this you've brought with you, Mrs. Becker?" "This is Miss Jensen," Adam explained, dismounting and reaching up to help Olivia down. "Her wagon overturned on the North Trail. She's taken a bit of a tumble." The older woman's expression immediately softened. "Land's sake, child, you must be half dead with fright. Come inside this minute." Olivia found herself ushered into a warm kitchen that smelled of fresh bread and beef stew. Mrs. Becker, who she learned was Adam's housekeeper, clucked over her injuries while Adam went to send a ranch hand for her horses. "He's a good man, Mrs. Becker said when they were alone, gently cleaning a cut on Olivia's forehead. "Built this place from nothing after his father died, works harder than any 3 men combined. He was very kind to help me," Olivia acknowledged. "I'm grateful, though I don't want to be a burden. I should try to reach Kingfisher as soon as possible. They're expecting me for the new school term." Mrs. Becker poured her a cup of hot tea. "Kingfisher's a full day's ride from here, and you're in no condition to travel. Besides, that ankle needs rest. The school can wait a few days." When Adam returned, he had brought a shy young ranch hand with him. "This is Tommy," he introduced. 16 and the best tracker on the ranch. He'll fetch your horses first thing tomorrow." Dinner was a simple but hearty affair, with Adam maintaining a polite distance that both relieved and, strangely, disappointed Olivia. She found herself studying him when he wasn't looking. The way his hands, roughened by years of ranch work, still handled his cutlery with unexpected grace. How his eyes crinkled at the corners when he smiled at Tommy's eager tales. Later, settled in a guest room with clean sheets and a nightgown borrowed from Mrs. Becker, Olivia stood by the window gazing out at the star-filled sky. The vastness of the territory struck her anew, making Boston seem like another world entirely. A soft knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. Adam stood in the hallway, a small bundle in his hands. "Thought you might need these," he said, passing her several books. "Noticed yours got pretty damaged in the accident. They're not much some Shakespeare, a bit of Dickens, but might help pass the time while you heal." Touched by his thoughtfulness, Olivia accepted them with genuine gratitude. "Thank you. I wouldn't have taken you for a reader of Shakespeare." A flicker of something, perhaps amusement, perhaps challenge, crossed his face. "There's a lot about me you wouldn't take me for, Miss Jensen." With a slight nod, he turned to go. "Rest well. Dr. Peters will be by in the morning to look at that ankle." As promised, the doctor arrived early the next day, pronouncing her ankle sprained but not broken. "Stay off it for at least a week," he advised, wrapping it tightly. "You're lucky Mr. Zimmerman found you when he did." The day passed slowly, with Olivia confined to a chair on the porch. She watched the rhythm of ranch life unfold before her, men bringing horses in from distant pastures, Adam directing operations with quiet authority. Once, catching her eye across the yard, he tipped his hat with a small smile that made her heart skip unexpectedly. By evening, Tommy had returned with her horses and what remained of her wagon. "Not much left of it, I'm afraid," Adam told her as they examined the broken remains. "I can have my men salvage the good parts, but you'll need a new one to reach Kingfisher." "I can't afford a new wagon," Olivia admitted, dismayed. "The school board sent just enough for my travel expenses, and I've used most of it already." Adam considered this problem. "The supply wagon heads to Kingfisher every 2 weeks. Next one leaves in 4 days, enough time for your ankle to heal some. You could ride along." Relief flooded through her. "That would be perfect, thank you." The next few days established an unexpected routine. Mornings, Olivia would breakfast with Mrs. Becker, learning about the ranch and the territory. Afternoons, she would sit on the porch reading or mending her clothes, occasionally visited by Adam when he took breaks from his work. Evenings brought shared meals and conversation that grew increasingly comfortable. On the 3rd day, Adam found her attempting to walk without her crutch. "Impatient, Miss Jensen?" he asked, steadying her when she wobbled. I dislike feeling useless, she admitted. And please, after all your kindness, you might as well call me Olivia. His eyes met hers with unexpected warmth. Olivia, then, and I'm Adam. He hesitated, then offered his arm. If you're determined to walk, at least let me help. They moved slowly around the garden, Mrs. Becker maintained behind the house, Adam matching his long stride to her halting one. The afternoon sun cast a golden glow over everything, including the cowboy beside her. Olivia found herself noticing details she'd missed before: a small scar at his temple, the way one lock of his dark hair curled slightly when damp with sweat. "How did you end up here?" she asked, genuinely curious. "You don't speak like most of the cowboys I've encountered." Adam smiled wryly. "My father believed in education, even out here, sent me back east to school for a few years before he got sick." A shadow crossed his face. "Came home to a failing ranch and a mountain of debt, been working to build it back ever since." "You've done remarkably well," Olivia observed, looking around at the thriving property. "It's been 10 years of hard work," he acknowledged, "but it's mine, free and clear now." They reached a bench beneath an old cottonwood tree and Adam helped her sit. For a moment he remained standing, looking out across his land with an expression that combined pride and something like loneliness. "Why teaching?" he asked suddenly, turning back to her. Olivia smoothed her skirt, considering how much to reveal. "I've always loved learning, sharing knowledge." But also, she took a breath. Also, it was one of the few respectable professions open to a woman who needed to support herself. "Needed to," Adam prompted gently, settling beside her on the bench. "My father remarried after my mother died," she explained, her voice carefully neutral. "His new wife made it clear I had overstayed my welcome once I turned 18. Teaching offered independence." Adam nodded, understanding in his eyes. "Independence matters out here more than most places. It's why I love it, despite everything." Despite everything. His smile held a touch of rue. "The droughts, the blizzards, cattle thieves, loneliness, it's not an easy life. Yet you stay," Olivia observed. "Yet I stay," he agreed, their eyes meeting in a moment of unexpected connection. That evening at dinner, Olivia noticed Adam had changed his shirt and combed his hair. Mrs. Becker raised an eyebrow but said nothing as she served a finer meal than usual, complete with apple pie for dessert. "The supply wagon leaves tomorrow morning," Adam mentioned as they lingered over coffee. "Jim Peterson's driving. Good man, steady hands." Olivia felt a strange reluctance at the thought of leaving. "I should start packing my things." "About that." Adam set down his cup. "I've been thinking, your wagon's beyond repair and you'll need a way to get around Kingfisher." "I hadn't thought that far ahead," she admitted. "I have an older wagon I could spare, nothing fancy but solid. Consider it payment for helping Mrs. Becker with the mending these past days." Olivia blinked in surprise. "That's far too generous for a few stitches." Adam shrugged. "Call it Western hospitality, then." Mrs. Becker snorted softly. "In all my years here, I've never seen you give away a wagon for hospitality, Adam Zimmerman." A flush crept up Adam's neck. "Mrs. Becker, don't you have dishes to wash?" The older woman retreated, muttering about stubborn men and blind as bats, leaving them alone in awkward silence. "Thank you for the offer," Olivia said finally, "but I couldn't possibly accept such generosity without proper compensation." "Then consider it a loan," Adam suggested. "Until you get settled." Before she could respond, a commotion outside drew their attention. Adam was on his feet instantly, reaching for the rifle kept near the door. "Stay here," he ordered, all warmth gone from his voice. Ignoring her still tender ankle, Olivia followed him onto the porch. In the yard, 3 riders had arrived, their horses lathered from hard riding. The lead man, thin and wiry with a face like weathered leather, dismounted smoothly. "Zimmerman," he called, his voice carrying a note of tension. "We've got trouble. Randall's men are moving cattle across your north boundary." Adam's expression hardened. "How many head?" "At least 50, maybe more. They've got 6 men with them." Turning to Olivia, Adam's face was apologetic but determined. "I have to go. Randall's been trying to push me off this land for years. If I don't stop him now, he'll take it as weakness." "Of course," she said, understanding the gravity of the situation despite her limited knowledge of ranch politics. "Please be careful." For a moment, something unspoken passed between them. Then Adam turned, barking orders to the gathered ranch hands. Within minutes, they were mounted and riding hard toward the northern boundary, leaving Olivia standing on the porch with Mrs. Becker. "Don't you worry," the older woman said, though her own face betrayed concern. "Adam can handle himself." "Who is this Randall?" Olivia asked as they returned inside. Mrs. Becker's expression darkened. "Edgar Randall. Owns the biggest spread in these parts and thinks that entitles him to everything else. Been trying to buy the Lazy Z for years, and when Adam wouldn't sell, well," she shook her head. "Let's just say Randall doesn't take rejection well." Sleep eluded Olivia that night. Every creak of the house, every whistle of wind had her sitting up, straining to hear returning riders. It was well past midnight when hoofbeats finally approached. She rushed to the window, watching as exhausted men dismounted in the yard below. Adam was among them, and even in the dim light of the yard lanterns, Olivia could see blood on his shirt. Without thinking, she grabbed her shawl and hurried downstairs, ignoring the twinge in her ankle. She found him in the kitchen, allowing Mrs. Becker to clean a gash on his arm. His face was drawn with fatigue, but his eyes lit with surprise when she entered. "You should be resting," he said, wincing as Mrs. Becker applied disinfectant to his wound. "So should you," Olivia countered, moving closer. "What happened?" "We caught them red-handed," Adam explained, flexing his fingers as Mrs. Becker bandaged his arm. "Turned into a bit of a standoff. Shots were fired. Nobody killed, thankfully, but Randall's foreman got a piece of me before they retreated. And the cattle," a tired smile touched his lips. "Back where they belong." He looked up at her, his expression softening. "Sorry about the wagon to Kingfisher. This changes things. I can't leave the ranch undefended now." "Of course not," Olivia agreed, disappointment warring with unexpected relief at the delay. Mrs. Becker finished tying off the bandage. "That should hold. Now get some rest, both of you. Troubles will keep till morning." Dawn arrived with another surprise. As Olivia helped Mrs. Becker prepare breakfast, a cloud of dust on the horizon announced approaching riders. Adam, his injured arm in a sling but otherwise composed, stepped onto the porch to meet them. This time, it was a different group, a well-dressed man on an expensive horse, flanked by 4 rough-looking cowboys. Even from the kitchen window, Olivia could feel the tension radiating from Adam's rigid posture. "That's Randall himself," Mrs. Becker whispered, peering out. "Devil take him for showing up here." Olivia followed her outside just in time to hear the visitor's smooth, cultured voice. "A most unfortunate misunderstanding, Zimmerman. My foreman acted without authorization. I've come to make amends." Adam's response was cool. "6 armed men moving my cattle in the dead of night doesn't sound like a misunderstanding, Randall." The older man spread his hands in a gesture of innocence. "Bad judgment by overzealous employees. I've dismissed the men responsible." His gaze shifted, landing on Olivia with newfound interest. "I don't believe I've had the pleasure, madam." Adam moved slightly, placing himself between them. "Miss Jensen is a guest. She's headed to Kingfisher to take up the teaching position." "Ah, our new schoolmistress. Delighted to meet you." Randall tipped his hat, his smile not reaching his eyes. "Perhaps you do me the honor of dining at my ranch before you settle in town." The rocking R puts the Lazy Z to shame, I assure you. Before Olivia could respond, Adam cut in. "Miss Jensen is still recovering from an accident. She won't be traveling anywhere for a few days." Something calculating flashed across Randall's face. "I see. Well, my offer stands." "And Zimmerman," his voice hardened, "my offer for this land stands as well. Think about it. A smart man knows when he's outmatched." With that, he wheeled his horse and departed, his men following like shadows. "Charming neighbor," Olivia remarked once they were out of earshot. Adam's jaw was tight. "Edgar Randall has been trying to drive me off this land since my father died. Thinks he can intimidate or buy out everyone between him and the railroad." The mention of the railroad triggered a memory. The town council mentioned a railroad coming through Kingfisher soon. Said it would bring prosperity to the region. "It'll bring prosperity to whoever controls the land around it," Adam corrected grimly, "which is why Randall suddenly cares about a few dozen cattle. The survey crews have been through, and rumor says the line will cross the northeast corner of my property." Understanding dawned. "So that's why he wants your land." Adam nodded. "And why I won't sell. This ranch isn't just acres and cattle to me, Olivia, it's my father's legacy." The passion in his voice stirred something within her: admiration, certainly, but also something deeper. This was a man who stood his ground, who fought for what mattered to him. In Boston, the men of her acquaintance had fought over social standing and business deals, not land and principles. "The supply wagon will have to wait," Adam decided as they walked back to the house. "I can't spare the men to escort you right now, not with Randall playing these games." A week earlier, this delay would have distressed Olivia. Now she felt only a quiet relief. "I'll write to the town council explaining the circumstances. Surely they'll understand." That afternoon, as Adam checked his property lines with most of his hands, Olivia sat at the kitchen table drafting her letter. Mrs. Becker, kneading bread nearby, offered occasional advice on wording. "Don't mention Randall by name," she cautioned. "He has friends on the council." Olivia paused, pen hovering over paper. "Mrs. Becker, how long have you known Adam?" The older woman smiled fondly. "Since he was knee-high to a grasshopper. His mother was my dearest friend. When she passed, I promised to look after her men." Her expression grew wistful. "Samuel Zimmerman was a good husband to her and a fine father to Adam. This ranch was his dream, nearly killed himself building it. And after he died, Adam was just 22. Fresh from school back east with fancy ideas about literature and philosophy, suddenly had a failing ranch and his father's debts to manage." She punched the bread dough with surprising force. "Those first years were hard. Most young men would have sold out, but not Adam. Stubborn as his father, that one." Olivia found herself increasingly drawn to this complex man, educated but unpolished, tough but compassionate. "Has he never thought of marrying, starting a family of his own?" Mrs. Becker shot her a knowing look. "There aren't many suitable young ladies out here willing to be a rancher's wife, and Adam's particular about who he lets into his life." She patted Olivia's hand. "But he brought you here, didn't he?" Feeling her cheeks warm, Olivia returned to her letter. "He helped an injured stranger." "Nothing more," Mrs. Becker hummed skeptically. "And I suppose that's why he wore his good shirt to dinner and gave Tommy strict instructions to polish the silver." Before Olivia could formulate a response, hoofbeats approached. Through the window, she saw Adam returning alone, riding hard. His expression as he dismounted sent a chill through her. "Cut fence on the east line," he announced, striding into the kitchen. "And a warning carved into a fence post, 'Sell or burn,'" Mrs. Becker gasped. "He wouldn't dare." "Wouldn't he?" Adam paced the kitchen, tension radiating from him. "Randall's getting desperate, the railroad's coming, and he knows time is running out." Olivia stood, her letter forgotten. "Surely there are laws against such threats." Adam laughed without humor. "Laws thin out here, Olivia. Sheriff Jenkins rides through once a month if we're lucky, and he's more interested in a hot meal than enforcing justice." He ran a hand through his hair. "I've sent the men to patrol the boundaries in shifts. We'll have to keep watch at night, too." That night, Olivia lay awake listening to the sounds of the ranch. Somewhere outside, she knew Adam was keeping vigil, protecting what was his. The thought filled her with both anxiety and a strange warmth. In just a few days, this man had begun to matter to her in ways she hadn't expected. Dawn brought no further incidents, but the tension remained. Adam was distracted at breakfast, his eyes constantly drifting to the windows. When a rider appeared on the horizon, he was on his feet in an instant, hand moving to his gun. "It's just Tommy," Mrs. Becker said, peering out, "coming back from his patrol." But when the young ranch hand burst into the kitchen, his face was flushed with urgency. "Boss. Smoke to the north looks like the old Montgomery place is on fire." Adam was already moving. "Get the men, bring water barrels." He paused at the door, looking back at Olivia. "Stay here, please." The hours that followed were agonizing. Olivia paced the porch, ignoring her ankle's protests, watching the distant plume of smoke rise against the blue sky. Mrs. Becker kept busy in the kitchen, preparing food and bandages just in case, though her worried glances betrayed her concern. It was late afternoon when the men returned, exhausted and smoke-stained. Adam's face was grim as he reported to the anxious women. The Montgomery cabin's gone. Fire spread to some of the grassland, but we contained it. He accepted a cup of water from Mrs. Becker, drinking deeply. No doubt it was deliberate, found kerosene traces. Randall, Olivia asked softly. Adam nodded. Has to be. The Montgomery place borders my north line. It's been abandoned since old Jim died last winter. His eyes met Olivia's, serious and direct. This changes things. I need to ride to Kingfisher tomorrow, speak to the sheriff and telegraph the marshal in Guthrie. I'll go with you, Olivia decided immediately. I should meet with the town council anyway. It's not safe, Adam protested. Neither is staying here alone with Mrs. Becker if Randall's men are setting fires, she countered. Besides, my ankle is much improved, Mrs. Becker nodded approvingly. She's right, Adam, better to have her in town than here if trouble comes. Reluctantly, he agreed. We'll leave at first light. Tommy and 2 others will ride with us. That evening, as they prepared for the journey, Olivia found Adam on the porch, staring out at the darkening land. The setting sun cast long shadows across the ranch, giving everything a golden red glow that belied the danger they faced. It's beautiful here, she said softly, joining him at the railing. He glanced at her, his expression softening. It is worth fighting for. I understand that now. She hesitated, then added, I'm sorry your hospitality has been rewarded with such trouble. Adam's laugh held genuine warmth. Olivia Jensen, you're the least troublesome thing that's happened to me all year. His gaze lingered on her face. In fact, having you here has been unexpectedly pleasant. The simple words, spoken with such sincerity, made her heart beat faster, even though I interrupted your routine. Caused you to rescue my belongings, borrowed Mrs. Becker's nightgowns, even so. His smile faded, replaced by seriousness. Tomorrow in Kingfisher, you'll be meeting the school board, starting your new life. Yes, she acknowledged, suddenly uncertain about that prospect. Will you be happy there, teaching other people's children in a town where you know no one? The question caught her off guard. I hope so. It's the opportunity I've been seeking, independence, a chance to build something of my own. Adam nodded slowly. Important things. He straightened, his manner becoming more formal. We should both rest, long ride tomorrow. As he turned to go, Olivia impulsively caught his hand. Adam, thank you for everything. For a moment, something intense flashed in his eyes, something that made her breath catch. Then he squeezed her hand gently before releasing it. Good night, Olivia. She lay awake that night, her thoughts churning. The teaching position in Kingfisher had been her goal for months, her ticket to freedom and purpose. Yet now, facing its imminent reality, she felt strangely conflicted. In just a few days, the Lazy Z had begun to feel like a place she belonged, far more than her father's house in Boston ever had after her mother's death. And Adam. What was he to her? A kind stranger, a potential friend, or something her heart dared not yet name? They departed for Kingfisher as dawn broke over the prairie. Adam had insisted Olivia ride in a small buckboard rather than on horseback, her salvaged belongings secured behind the seat. He drove himself, with 3 armed ranch hands providing escort. The mood was vigilant, eyes constantly scanning the horizon for signs of trouble. Tell me about Kingfisher, Adam said after they had been traveling for an hour, clearly trying to lighten the atmosphere. Olivia smoothed her skirts, gathering her thoughts. From the town council's letters, it sounds ambitious. They're building a proper school, planning for growth when the railroad arrives. The chairman, Mr. Harrison, wrote that they hope to become the educational center for the territory. Harrison's a good man, Adam acknowledged. Owns the general store. His wife's been pushing for a school for years. You know them well, he shrugged. Well enough. Kingfisher's the closest town to the ranch. I'm there every few weeks for supplies. The implication hung unspoken between them. They would see each other again, even after she settled in town. The thought brought unexpected comfort. As they crested a rise, Kingfisher came into view in the valley below. It was larger than Olivia had expected, perhaps 30 buildings arranged along a main street, with smaller structures scattered beyond. A church spire rose prominently, and even from this distance, she could see activity in the streets. Not Boston, Adam said with a hint of apology, but it's growing. It looks perfect, she replied honestly. They rode into town just before noon, drawing curious glances from pedestrians. Adam guided the buckboard to a two-story building with a sign declaring it the Kingfisher Hotel. Best place in town, he explained, helping her down. We'll get you settled, then I'll see the sheriff. The hotel proprietress, Mrs. Wilkins, was effusive in her welcome when she learned Olivia was the new teacher. We've been so looking forward to your arrival. The children have been running wild without proper schooling. My own Betsy can barely write her name. As they were speaking, a distinguished-looking man with silver hair and spectacles approached. Miss Jensen, George Harrison, Town Council Chairman. Word reached us you'd arrived with Mr. Zimmerman. Introductions were made, explanations given about the delayed arrival. Mr. Harrison clucked sympathetically at the tale of her accident. Dreadful business, simply dreadful, but how fortunate Mr. Zimmerman found you, he beamed at Adam. One of our most respected ranchers, Miss Jensen. The Zimmerman family has been in this region since before most of us arrived. Adam accepted the praise with a nod. Miss Jensen needs to rest, George. Her ankle's still healing. Perhaps you could arrange a proper meeting with the council tomorrow. Of course, Harrison agreed immediately. The schoolhouse isn't quite finished, but we'd be delighted to show you the progress. Shall we say 10 o'clock? My wife is eager to meet you as well. With arrangements made, Adam excused himself to visit the sheriff, promising to return for dinner. Mrs. Wilkins showed Olivia to a comfortable room overlooking the main street, chattering about local gossip and the excitement over the new school. Left alone at last, Olivia stood by the window watching the unfamiliar town. People moved purposefully along the boardwalks, wagons rolled down the dusty street, children played in vacant lots. This was to be her home now. Her future. So why did her thoughts keep drifting back to a ranch miles away, and the man who owned it? Adam returned as promised for dinner, though his expression was troubled. They sat in the hotel's small dining room, speaking quietly over plates of surprisingly good roast beef. Sheriff Jenkins was unavailable, Adam explained, his frustration evident. Convenient, since the rocking R pays half his salary under the table. I sent a telegram to the federal marshal instead. Will they respond? Eventually. But in the meantime. He sighed, pushing food around his plate. Randall's making his move now. The railroad survey is finalized. Construction starts this fall. Olivia reached across the table, briefly touching his hand. You won't face this alone. Surely there are others who will stand with you against such injustice. His gaze softened at her touch. Maybe, but I won't ask friends to risk their lives and livelihoods. He straightened, deliberately changing the subject. Harrison seems impressed with you. The school board meeting should go well. I hope so. Olivia sipped her water, suddenly unsure, though I find myself wondering if I'm truly prepared for this role. Having doubts, she considered the question carefully. Not about teaching itself, I love that, but about everything else. Living alone in a strange town, building a life from scratch. Adam studied her thoughtfully. You struck me as remarkably self-sufficient from the moment I found you trying to crawl out from under that wagon by yourself. The memory brought an unexpected smile. Perhaps. Though I'm grateful I didn't have to be. Something shifted in his expression, a softening around his eyes. So am I. The simple words carried weight beyond their meaning, creating a moment of connection that made the busy dining room fade around them. Olivia found herself wondering what might have happened if they'd met under different circumstances, if she hadn't been bound for a teaching position, if his ranch wasn't under threat. The spell was broken when the hotel door burst open, admitting a group of boisterous cowboys. Among them, Olivia recognized one of Randall's men from their visit to the ranch. Adam tensed, his hand moving instinctively toward his gun. But the cowboys, though loud, seemed intent on their own business, settling at a table across the room. Perhaps we should continue our conversation elsewhere, Olivia suggested quietly. They moved to the hotel's small parlor, finding it empty save for an elderly gentleman dozing in a corner chair. Through the window, the last light of day was fading, painting Kingfisher in soft purple shadows. Will you return to the ranch tonight? Olivia asked, suddenly anxious at the thought of Adam riding in darkness with Randall's men possibly lurking. He shook his head. Too dangerous. My men and I have rooms here. We'll head back at first light. He hesitated, then added, after your meeting with the school board, if that suits you. Relief washed through her. Yes, I'd appreciate that. Good. He cleared his throat, suddenly awkward. Olivia, whatever he intended to say was interrupted by Mrs. Wilkins bustling into the parlor. Oh, there you are, Miss Jensen. A letter's arrived for you from the school board. She handed over an envelope with a flourish. Curious, Olivia broke the seal and read the contents, her expression gradually shifting from interest to concern. What is it? Adam asked. They've changed the meeting, she explained. Instead of tomorrow morning at the schoolhouse, they want me to attend dinner tonight at Mr. Randall's home outside town. Apparently, he's hosting the entire council. Adam's face darkened. This is no coincidence. Randall saw us arrive together. Surely the school board wouldn't involve themselves in your land dispute, Olivia reasoned, though uncertainty crept into her voice. Randall has influence everywhere money matters, Adam replied grimly, and the school needs funding. Mrs. Wilkins, hovering nearby, nodded in confirmation. Mr. Randall made a very generous donation toward the new schoolhouse. His name's right on the cornerstone. Olivia reread the letter, weighing her options. If I refuse to attend, it would look suspicious, Adam finished for her. And potentially jeopardize your position before you even start. The realization settled heavily between them. To secure her future in Kingfisher, Olivia needed the school board's approval. Yet attending this dinner meant walking into Randall's territory, a man who had threatened Adam and potentially ordered the burning of a neighboring property. I have to go, she decided finally, but I won't be influenced by whatever game he's playing. Adam's jaw tightened. I don't like it. Neither do I, she admitted, but sometimes the sensible choice isn't the most appealing one. An hour later, Olivia found herself in a rented carriage heading toward the Rocking R Ranch. Mr. Harrison had sent the conveyance, along with a note expressing delight that she could attend on such short notice. Adam had seen her off with obvious misgivings, extracting a promise that she would return to town immediately after the dinner. The Rocking R proved to be everything Adam had implied ostentatious by frontier standards, with a sprawling main house lit by multiple lamps. As the carriage approached, Olivia steeled herself for the evening ahead, determined to remain neutral in whatever conflict simmered between the two ranchers. Edgar Randall greeted her personally at the door, every inch the gracious host. Miss Jensen, what a pleasure to welcome Kingfisher's new schoolmistress to my humble home. The house was far from humble, furnished with pieces that must have been shipped at great expense from back east. The other guests were already assembled in a formal parlor. Mr. Harrison and his wife, 3 other council members with their spouses, and the local banker, whose name Olivia immediately forgot in the flurry of introductions. We're so pleased you've arrived safely, Mrs. Harrison gushed. When we heard about your dreadful accident, yes, quite fortunate that Zimmerman happened by, Randall interjected smoothly. Though I understand you've been delayed at his ranch for several days, I hope the accommodations were adequate. Something in his tone made Olivia bristle inwardly, though she maintained her composure. Mr. Zimmerman and his housekeeper were exceptionally hospitable. I'm very grateful for their assistance. Of course, Randall smiled thinly, though I imagine the Lazy Z is rather rustic compared to what you're accustomed to in Boston. Dinner was an elaborate affair, with multiple courses served by uniformed staff. Throughout the meal, conversation flowed easily among the council members, centered primarily around plans for Kingfisher's growth. The railroad will change everything, Mr. Peterson, the general store owner, declared enthusiastically. We'll have direct access to markets in Kansas City, St. Louis, even Chicago, provided the right infrastructure is in place to support it, Randall added meaningfully. Which requires vision and resources. As coffee was served, the conversation inevitably turned to the school. Harrison outlined their progress with obvious pride. The building should be complete within 2 weeks, simple but sturdy with proper desks ordered from St. Louis. And how many students do you anticipate, Miss Jensen? Mrs. Harrison inquired. The council mentioned approximately 30 in your correspondence, Olivia replied, though I'm prepared to accommodate more if necessary. 30 now, Randall said thoughtfully, but with the coming growth. Well, one school teacher might soon be insufficient. Olivia recognized the opening he was creating. Every educational system must grow with its community, Mr. Randall. I'm quite prepared for that challenge. His eyes narrowed slightly at her diplomatic response. Indeed. Though growth requires land for expansion, the current schoolhouse site is rather constrained. Mr. Randall has generously offered an alternative location on his property, Harrison explained, exchanging glances with the others. A much larger plot, better situated for the town's expected expansion, and there it was the true purpose behind this elaborate dinner. Randall was positioning himself not just as a benefactor but as essential to Kingfisher's future, and by extension, to Olivia's career. How thoughtful, she replied carefully, though I would need to see both locations before offering an opinion. Randall smiled, though it didn't reach his eyes. Of course, perhaps tomorrow I could show you personally. Before Olivia could respond, the dining room door opened abruptly. All heads turned to see the sheriff, the supposedly unavailable Sheriff Jenkins, standing in the doorway. "Beg pardon for the interruption," he said, though his expression showed no remorse. "Got an urgent matter to discuss with Mr. Randall." The two men stepped outside, leaving an awkward silence in their wake. Olivia noted the nervous glances exchanged by council members, confirming her suspicion that they were well aware of the tensions between Randall and Adam. When Randall returned moments later, his genial facade had hardened. "It seems we have a situation that requires my attention. Sheriff Jenkins reports that someone has filed a formal complaint with the territorial marshal regarding the Montgomery fire," his gaze fixed pointedly on Olivia. "Curious timing, wouldn't you say? Just as Mr. Zimmerman brings our new teacher to town." The accusation hung in the air, challenging Olivia to either defend Adam or distance herself from him. Either choice would reveal where her loyalties lay. "I couldn't speak to the timing," she replied evenly. Though justice for criminal acts seems a reasonable expectation in any civilized community. A tense silence followed her words, broken finally by Harrison clearing his throat. "Perhaps we should conclude our business for the evening. Miss Jensen must be tired from her journey." The dinner party disbanded shortly thereafter, with Randall offering perfunctory farewells. As promised, the carriage returned Olivia to town, her mind racing with the implications of what had transpired. Adam was waiting in the hotel lobby, his relief visible when she entered. "You're back earlier than expected. The evening was interrupted," she explained, gesturing toward a quiet corner where they could speak privately. Quickly, she related the events at the Rocking R, including the sheriff's arrival and Randall's thinly veiled accusation. Adam's expression darkened. "So he knows about the telegram to the marshal. Doesn't surprise me Jenkins would have told him immediately." The council members seemed uncomfortable, Olivia observed. "I think they're caught between Randall's money and their own consciences." "Money usually wins that battle," Adam said grimly. "Perhaps." Olivia hesitated, then added softly, "But not always. Not when people of principle stand firm." Their eyes met, understanding passing between them. Whatever happened next, the lines were clearly drawn, and Olivia had made her choice perhaps before she even realized there was one to make. "You should rest," Adam said finally. "Tomorrow will bring its own challenges," but rest proved elusive. Olivia lay awake in the unfamiliar hotel room, her thoughts churning between concerns about her teaching position and worries for Adam's safety. By dawn, she had reached a decision that surprised even herself. She found Adam in the hotel dining room, already dressed for travel. His ranch hands sat nearby, equally prepared for departure. "Good morning," she greeted him, taking the seat he offered. "I've been thinking about our situation." Adam raised an eyebrow. "Our situation?" "Yes," Olivia met his gaze directly. "I've decided not to accept the teaching position." Shock registered on his face. "Olivia, no, this is your dream, your independence. You can't abandon it because of Randall's games." "I'm not abandoning anything," she countered firmly. "I'm choosing differently." Last night made it clear that accepting this position would mean being beholden to Randall's influence. The school board is well-intentioned but compromised. Adam studied her thoughtfully. What will you do instead? The question gave her pause. In truth, her decision had been made from instinct rather than careful planning. I'm not entirely certain yet, but I know I cannot build the life I want on a foundation of such compromise. Something shifted in Adam's expression, respect mingled with a deeper emotion she wasn't ready to name. There are other towns, other schools that would be fortunate to have you. Yes, she agreed. Though I find myself reluctant to leave this area entirely. The admission cost her some pride, but his answering smile was worth it. Do you need to inform the council? Olivia nodded. I'll write to Mr. Harrison this morning. He deserves a proper explanation, even if I can't be entirely candid about my reasons. They finished breakfast quickly, aware that time was precious. As they prepared to depart, the hotel door burst open, admitting Tommy, breathless and alarmed. Boss. Just got word from Jim at the ranch. Randall's men were spotted near the south pasture last night. Nothing burned, but they cut more fence. Adam's face hardened. We ride now. He turned to Olivia. Will you be safe here? She considered the question seriously. Randall has no quarrel with me directly, but if he learns I've declined the position, I'm not certain. Then you'll come with us, he decided. At least until we can arrange safer passage to wherever you choose to go next. The return journey to the Lazy Z was tense, all of them watching for signs of Randall's men. They arrived by mid-afternoon to find the ranch intact but on high alert. Mrs. Becker greeted them with obvious relief, ushering Olivia inside while Adam conferred with his remaining hands. You turned down the school? Mrs. Becker exclaimed when Olivia explained the situation. Well, I can't say I'm sorry to hear it. That Randall's a snake in the grass. I couldn't work under his influence, Olivia said simply, not and maintain my self-respect. The older woman studied her shrewdly. And was that the only reason? Before Olivia could respond, Adam entered, his expression grim. Jim found tracks from at least 6 riders circling the property last night. They're watching, planning something. What will you do? Olivia asked. Increase patrols, keep the men in pairs, and… He hesitated, glancing between the women. I think you should both leave. Go to my cousin's place in Guthrie until this is resolved, Mrs. Becker snorted. I haven't left this ranch in 15 years, Adam Zimmerman, and I'm not starting now because some rich bully is throwing his weight around. And I won't run either, Olivia added firmly. Not when I've just taken a stand against Randall's influence. Adam looked between them, frustration evident. This isn't about pride or principles anymore. Randall's escalating. It could get dangerous. All the more reason not to leave you short-handed, Olivia argued. I may not be a rancher, but I can cook for your men, tend to minor injuries, keep watch. Let me help Adam. Something in her plea must have reached him, for his resistance visibly faltered. You're the most stubborn woman I've ever met, he muttered, but there was a reluctant admiration in his tone. Second most, Mrs. Becker corrected with a wink at Olivia. Now, let's get supper started for these hungry men while there's still daylight. The next few days established a new routine at the Lazy Z. The men worked in shifts, tending cattle and patrolling boundaries by day, standing guard by night. Olivia found herself fully integrated into ranch operations, helping Mrs. Becker with meals, mending clothes, and even learning to shoot under Adam's patient instruction. You're a natural, he commented as she hit the target for the 3rd time in succession. Though I pray you never need to use these skills. As do I, she agreed, carefully setting down the revolver, but I prefer preparation to helplessness. They stood together in the yard, the afternoon sun casting long shadows across the ground. In the days since returning from Kingfisher, something had shifted between them, a growing closeness neither had acknowledged aloud but both felt keenly. Olivia, Adam began, his voice unusually hesitant. I need to ask. His words were cut short by a shout from the north pasture. They both turned to see Tommy racing toward them, his horse lathered. Boss, riders coming, at least a dozen. Adam was instantly alert, all personal matters forgotten. Get inside, he ordered Olivia. Tell Mrs. Becker to bar the doors, but Olivia stood her ground. Who is it? Randall's men. Tommy shook his head, pointing beyond the ridge. Don't think so, they've got an official look, badges and such. Relief flooded Adam's features. The marshal, he came. Indeed, as the riders crested the hill, Olivia could make out the distinctive appearance of law enforcement uniformed men led by a grim-faced individual whose very bearing spoke of authority. U.S. Marshal Davis, the leader introduced himself as they dismounted in the yard. Here on reports of land disputes, threats, and suspected arson. What followed was an intense discussion in which Adam detailed the ongoing conflict with Randall. Marshal Davis listened impassively, occasionally making notes. "We've already paid a visit to the Rocking R," he revealed finally. Mr. Randall was most uncooperative, claimed all allegations were fabricated by jealous neighbors. "Of course he did," Adam said bitterly. However, the marshal continued, his foreman was more forthcoming after some persuasion. "We have a signed statement implicating Randall in ordering the fence cutting and the Montgomery fire." Hope flickered in Adam's expression. "You're arresting him?" "Already done," Davis confirmed. "He's on his way to Guthrie to face charges." Federal charges, since the railroad involvement makes this a matter of interstate commerce. The news was almost too good to believe. After weeks of tension, the threat had been neutralized through legitimate channels, not violence. "What will happen to his property?" Adam asked. "That's for the courts to decide. For now, it's under territorial administration." The marshal studied Adam thoughtfully. "Your telegram mentioned the railroad survey crossing your land. That piece of information proved particularly relevant to our investigation." As the lawman departed, promising to return if further testimony was needed, a weight seemed to lift from the entire ranch. The hands celebrated openly. Mrs. Becker produced a hidden bottle of whiskey for toasts, and even Adam's stoic features relaxed into genuine relief. That evening, as the excitement quieted, Olivia found herself alone with Adam on the porch. The stars had emerged in force, painting the vast Oklahoma sky with silver light. "What will you do now?" Adam asked softly, breaking the comfortable silence between them. Olivia considered the question. "I'm not entirely sure. The teaching position in Kingfisher is likely still available, though I remain reluctant to accept it under the circumstances." "Harrison and the council weren't bad people," Adam observed. "Just caught in Randall's web. With him gone, they might govern more independently." "Perhaps." She turned to face him directly. "And you, what will you do?" His gaze remained fixed on the distant horizon. "Rebuild the cut fences, prepare for winter. The railroad will still come through in the spring, bringing changes I can't fully predict." He paused, then added quietly, "It's a good life here, but sometimes a lonely one." The admission hung in the air between them, an opening Olivia hadn't expected but instantly recognized. Gathering her courage, she took a step closer. "It doesn't have to be lonely," she said softly. Adam turned to her then, his eyes searching hers. "What are you saying, Olivia?" "I'm saying," she took a deep breath. "I'm saying that when you found me trapped beneath that wagon, you didn't just save my life. You showed me a different way of living, one with purpose and principle and unexpected joy." Her voice grew stronger with each word. "I came west seeking independence, but I've found something equally valuable, a place where I might belong." Adam moved closer, his expression intense. "Are you certain? This isn't the life you planned. The ranch is demanding, sometimes harsh and beautiful," she finished for him. "Full of challenges worth facing and work worth doing." She smiled, adding softly, "with people worth loving." The word hung between them, neither retreating from its implication. "I've thought of little else since I found you," Adam admitted, his voice rough with emotion. "Even with everything else happening, you were always there in my thoughts, your courage, your determination, the way you see things so clearly." He took her hands in his touch gentle but certain. "Stay, Olivia, not just for now, but for always. Be my wife." The directness of his proposal, so like the man himself, made her heart swell. "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, I will." His kiss was tentative at first, as if he couldn't quite believe she was real, then deepening into something that promised a lifetime of passion and partnership. When they finally parted, both breathless, the stars seemed to shine even brighter above them. Mrs. Becker found them still on the porch an hour later, sitting close together making plans for a future neither had imagined just weeks before. "Well, it's about time," the older woman declared with satisfaction. "I was beginning to think I'd need to lock you two in the root cellar to get any results." Adam laughed, the sound free and unburdened for the first time since Olivia had known him. "Would you have really done that, Mrs. Becker?" "In a heartbeat," she confirmed cheerfully. "Now come inside before you catch your deaths. We've got a wedding to plan." News of their engagement spread quickly through the territory. Harrison and the Kingfisher Council sent congratulations along with an unexpected proposal: would Olivia consider teaching part-time when the school opened? With Randall's influence removed, they hoped to rebuild community trust and establish proper educational standards. "You could ride in 3 days a week," Adam suggested when she showed him the letter. "If that's what you want." Olivia considered the idea thoughtfully. "I think I would like that. Teaching has always been my calling, and this arrangement would allow me to fulfill that purpose while still making our home here." "Our home." Adam repeated the words with evident satisfaction. "I like the sound of that." They were married 2 months later in Kingfisher's small church with Mrs. Becker beaming proudly in the front pew and the entire ranch staff in attendance. The town had turned out as well, curious to witness the union of their new teacher and the respected rancher whose stand against corruption had become something of a local legend. As autumn turned to winter, Olivia settled into life at the Lazy Z with surprising ease. 3 days a week, she rode into Kingfisher to teach at the new school, returning each evening to the ranch where Adam would be waiting, often riding out to meet her on the trail home. The nights grew longer, giving them peaceful hours by the fire to read aloud from the books Adam had secretly collected over the years: Shakespeare and Dickens, poetry and philosophy that reflected the educated man beneath the cowboy exterior. "Did you ever regret it?" Olivia asked one evening as they sat together, her head resting against his shoulder. "Leaving your studies to return here?" Adam considered the question seriously. "Sometimes, in those early years, I wondered what kind of life I might have had as a professor or lawyer back east." His arm tightened around her. "But now, no, this land is part of me, and you," he pressed a kiss to her forehead, "you brought everything else I was missing." Spring arrived with its promise of renewal, the prairie exploding into wildflowers that carpeted the land in vibrant color. As predicted, railroad construction began, bringing new activity to the region. One evening in late April, Adam returned from Kingfisher with unexpected news. "The territorial governor approved incorporation of a new town," he announced over dinner, "right where the railroad crosses our land." Olivia looked up in surprise. "A new town on the Lazy Z?" "On what was the Lazy Z," he corrected with a smile. "I sold 20 acres to the railroad company for a fair price with conditions. They're calling it Zimmerman Station for now, though I expect that will change." "What conditions, Mrs. Becker asked suspiciously. "That they build a proper school as one of the first structures," Adam replied, his eyes on Olivia, "and that a certain talented teacher be offered the position of headmistress." Olivia's hand flew to her mouth. "Adam, you didn't." "I did." He reached across the table for her hand. "Only if you wanted, of course. But I thought our own town, our own school, something we could build together, just as we're building our life together." The opportunity was beyond anything she could have imagined when she'd first set out for Oklahoma Territory. Not just a teaching position, but the chance to establish an entire educational foundation for a new community. "Yes," she said, squeezing his hand. "Yes to all of it." As summer approached, bringing with it their first anniversary, Olivia had one more surprise to share. She chose a quiet evening when they were alone, walking along the creek that bordered what would soon become Zimmerman Station. "I have something to tell you," she began, her voice catching slightly with emotion. "Something wonderful." Adam stopped, turning to face her with concern. "What is it?" Taking his hand, she placed it gently against her stomach, still flat but harboring their greatest adventure yet. "We're going to have a baby, Adam. By winter, there will be 3 of us." The joy that transformed his features was answer enough, but his words, whispered against her hair as he pulled her close, sealed the moment in her heart forever. "I thought I'd found everything I needed when I lifted that wagon and saw you looking up at me. But this you, our child, our future, this is beyond even my greatest hopes." They stood together as the sun set over the Oklahoma prairie, casting golden light across the land that had brought them together. From calamity had come love, from struggle had come strength, and from an overturned wagon on a dusty trail had come a life neither could have imagined, but both now cherished above all else. When their son was born that December, a strong, healthy boy they named Samuel, after Adam's father, the new town of Zimmerman Station celebrated alongside them. By then, the schoolhouse was nearly complete, ready to welcome students in the spring with Olivia as its headmistress. Life on the frontier remained challenging, with harsh winters and the constant work of ranching and building a community. But each night, when Adam and Olivia retired to their bedroom in the ranch house that had become truly theirs, they remembered how their story began with an accident that proved to be the greatest fortune of their lives. 5 years later, the town had grown into a thriving community, with the railroad bringing new settlers and opportunities. The Zimmerman family had expanded as well, with the addition of a daughter, Emma, who had her mother's chestnut hair and her father's determined spirit. The school, now expanded to 2 rooms, was considered the finest in the territory, with students coming from surrounding areas to benefit from Olivia's progressive teaching methods. Adam had transitioned much of the daily ranch management to his capable foreman, allowing him to participate more actively in town development and spend precious time with his growing family. Together, he and Olivia had created something remarkable, not just a marriage and family, but a legacy that would endure long after them. On the anniversary of the day they met, Adam always took Olivia back to the spot where her wagon had overturned, now marked with a simple stone. Each year they would stand together, remembering the moment that had changed everything. "I've got you," he would whisper, echoing those first words as he held her close. And she would smile, knowing that in every way that mattered, they would always have each other through whatever adventures still awaited them on the wild Oklahoma frontier.